Okay, this is another nice topic. What can governments do in terms of using AI for climate change, climate action? Of course, there are a lot of problems governments are facing in terms of climate action. Lobbying from energy companies, people want action, but people don't know what that means in terms of, maybe they have to pay more taxes, maybe they have to move, maybe there will be restrictions on travel, this, that, and the other thing. So people have a vague sense that climate change is bad and governments must do something, but how willing are they to actually pay a price for accomplishing climate mitigation with their own actions? These are all tricky questions, but here we will look at it in the narrow sense of what AI can mean for helping governments on climate change. So keeping that in mind, let's read the executive summary. We will definitely have more than one podcast, but that's okay because I don't want to rush it anyway. So let's start with the executive summary as usual. I'm brief as usual, but the report is very nice and you can go and read if you want more details. Climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time, requiring rapid action spanning many communities, approaches, and tools. Artificial intelligence has been proposed as one such tool with significant opportunities to accelerate climate action via applications such as forecasting solar power production, optimizing building heating and cooling systems, pinpointing deforestation from satellite imagery, and analyzing corporate financial disclosures for climate-relevant information. So we are focusing on things that come under the purview of a government in terms of regulation, governance, policies, action, etc. So AI for governments to lead to climate action. At the same time, AI is a general purpose technology with many applications across society, which means it has also been applied in ways that impede climate action, both through immediate effects and broader systemic effects. In this report, we provide actionable recommendations as to how governments can support the responsible use of AI in the context of climate change. Right? We already talked about many issues of AI, how it can help climate mitigation, climate action, sector-wise tool building for equitable, just AI, and so on. We also talked about impact of AI on global warming because it's power hungry and thirsty. These recommendations here were obtained via consultation with a broad set of stakeholders and span three primary categories: supporting the responsible use of AI for climate change mitigation and adaptation, reducing the negative impact of AI where it may be used in ways that are incompatible with climate goals, and building relevant implementation, evaluation, and governance capabilities for and among a wide range of entities. So we will obviously repeat some of the points, but that's okay. The context is slightly different here, so it's worth going through these. So our full list of recommendations is provided in table E1, which we will look at. To illustrate these recommendations, we additionally provide a booklet of high potential AI for climate use cases, illustrating the capabilities of AI for climate action across different sectors and describing policy relevant bottlenecks such sorry, I didn't emphasize correctly. It's a long sentence, isn't it? To illustrate these recommendations, we additionally provide a booklet of high potential AI for climate use cases, illustrating the capabilities of AI for climate action across different sectors and describing policy relevant bottlenecks such use cases may face in terms of development, deployment, and scaling. So they give use cases and then describe policy relevant bottlenecks these use cases may face while implementation. Okay, during implementation, while implementing. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling this. Supporting AI applications in climate change mitigation and adaptation. We looked at this a little bit, but here again, Given the short time scale on which society must address climate change, it will be critical that responsible climate solutions be rapidly deployed and scaled across key sectors. Note that they're talking about the urgency of time scale but not calling it a crisis. So people are more careful in some cases. People use this word crisis rather callously without, what is a crisis? If I'm living here happily, if everybody is going on with their lives, especially climate scientists, then where is the crisis, right? However, many such solutions often get stuck in research or early stages of technological readiness, and even after initial deployment often face difficulties scaling. We propose that governments can take leadership in supporting the use of AI to address climate change by fostering the responsible development of and access to data and digital infrastructure. For example, relevant data simulation environments, testbeds, model libraries, and computational hardware that can support the development and adoption of AI for climate applications. We have made these points before. Targeting research and innovation funding to enable interdisciplinary and cross-sectoral work at the intersection of AI and climate change that is guided by climate impact. Supporting deployment and systems integration of AI for climate applications via targeted policy design and evaluation via targeted policy design and evaluation, market design, and business models, including within highly regulated sectors such as energy, transportation, agriculture, and heavy industry. So again, from the government point of view, policy design and strategies for regulating sectors. This is the difference from previous podcasts on AI and climate. Reducing AI's negative impacts on the climate. What can governments do? Energy application of AI affects the climate, which means aligning AI with climate change strategies involves not only facilitating beneficial applications of AI, but also shaping the space of AI overall so that business as usual applications are more climate aligned. Notably, there are three principal ways in which AI can increase greenhouse gas emissions via its use for applications with immediate negative impacts on emissions, via systems level impacts such as induced demand or lock-in effects associated with AI applications, and via the carbon footprint associated with the life cycle impacts of the associated software and hardware. So companies may want to use AI more and more to be more efficient in their manufacturing or identifying customers, providing better services, making their products better, and so on. So they may not pay attention to energy use, water use, emissions, and so on. The government has to do that. So it has to allow AI to be used for economic development, but align everything with climate action. Governments can work to reduce the negative impacts of AI by incorporating climate impact considerations into AI regulation, strategies, funding mechanisms, and procurement programs. This is critical. Okay, so here is implementation and evaluation as well as government capabilities. You are looking here at AI as tools for climate action and shaping AI impacts. So again, government. Data and digital infrastructure, research and innovation funding, deployment and systems integration. There are some blurbs below I'm not going to read, but you know what they are. So there is related policy and regulations needed as well as actions. Responsible AI, of course, align everything with climate action. Capacity building so that people who are affected by AI are also ready for it, upskilling everything else. International collaborations, this is going to be very essential because economies are integrated across the globe and interdependent, at least if not integrated. Then if everybody starts using AI and we are worrying about mitigation, then AI's impact on equity, justice, as well as emissions have to be worried about in international collaborations, and of course keeping AI safe and not allow it to go crazy. And impact assessments, of course, reducing AI's negative impacts on the climate with applications and computer-related impacts. So governments, right? The next item, building implementation, evaluation, and governance capabilities. What do we mean? Cutting across the previous recommendations is the need to build institutional capabilities aimed at the responsible implementation, evaluation, and governance of AI in the context of climate change. Such capabilities must be built across a wide range of organizations, including the governmental entities at the international, national, and local levels, as well as private and civil society organizations in climate-relevant sectors. Of course, energy, transport, heavy industries, agriculture, water, health, infrastructure, buildings. We propose that governments can support the development of relevant institutional capabilities by embedding responsible AI principles into the design of initiatives and governance structures, which includes fostering inclusion of participants from civil society, local governments, the global south, and marginalized groups. So already this is thinking about governments worrying about global issues such as global south not being left behind. Fostering climate cognizant impact assessment of AI, so you'll need data for that. Building capacity for implementation, evaluation, and governance in the form of literacy, skills, and talent, standards, tools, and best practices, which we already addressed a little bit. And here is the roadmap for action. As the use of AI grows rapidly across society, already happening, it's imperative that governments be proactive in helping shape these developments with climate action in mind. Within individual countries, meaningful action on these initiatives will require collaborations among multiple branches or arms of the government. For example, agencies focused on AI or digitalization, agencies focused on climate change or climate relevant sectors, standards bodies, regulators, and local governments. In addition to participations from civil society, academia, and the private sector. Multilateral or international collaborations, such as via the development of cross-functional consortia and capacity building within existing international organizations. UNFCCC is, of course, a prime candidate for that, but development banks, etc., as well, WMO, and so on, WHO. These can prevent unnecessary duplication, facilitate knowledge sharing, and strengthen overall efforts. We hope the recommendations and enumeration of existing bottlenecks contained in this report will provide a launching point for these initiatives. So, good intentions. So, we mentioned summary recommendations table. Here it is. Recommendations for governments in themes, so data and digital infrastructure. I won't read all the items, but these are for supporting applications in climate change mitigation and adaptation. Establish data task forces, facilitate data creation and open data standards, rapidly create data portals, collaboration with GPAI members, so global AI or GPAI. Let's do that quickly. I should remember it when I read it. I think I will remember all the acronyms, but you end up not remembering when it happens. GPAI climate reporting. Come on. Okay. They just say, okay. Global Partnership on AI. That should have been easy to guess, but there are so many acronyms that I cannot remember all of them. These should be intuitive, right? Global Partnerships on AI, GPAI. How did I forget that? Okay. Oversee the development of data collection, which a lot of climate data is being coordinated under various projects within WMO. Support cloud compute resources that are affordable for researchers as well as tool builders. Research and innovation funding. Ensure decisions on research and innovation funding. Develop targeted AI for climate challenges. We looked at the grand challenges already with Jeff Bezos Earth Fund. Encourage open IP, open data. We have talked about this in the previous podcast. develop innovation funding for AI for climate solutions, fund the development of research, compute and simulation assets, deploy AI for climate innovation, channel primarily AI research and innovation funding rather than climate funding to develop energy efficient AI. So there is climate action, use of AI for climate action, and then managing AI itself to be less impactful on climate. So that has to be separate, not part of the climate action funding. The deployment and systems integration, embed digitalization and AI experts into government climate policy teams and advisor groups. That's an important one. Launch digital innovation pathways, set up and co-fund public-private investment groups, develop cross-sectoral innovation centers, develop and maintain non-commercial public interest applications. Okay, so reducing AI's negative impacts on the climate. Reducing AI's negative impacts on the climate requires avoiding direct governmental funding or applications that run counter to climate goals, make climate change a central consideration, ensure that cloud compute is appropriately included in carbon footprinting, procure all AI and compute services only from companies that have signed up to a net zero target covering scopes 1, 2 and 3, which are emissions 1 and 2 are upstream emissions from your supply chain and your manufacturing, etc. And then scope 3 emissions are what you do after you have produced your products and you hand it off to shipping, retailing and everything else. Of course, we have discussed the transparency issues on reporting, monitoring and verification of companies. Greenwashing is very common. Building implementation, evaluation and governance capabilities, then responsible AI implementation and assessment, establish and implement standards or best practices, include participation stipends for experts and civil society participants within the budgets of governmental task forces. Basically, anything you want to do like this which is new and needs to be sustained has to be mainstreamed into fiscal policies and budget processes, especially adaptation, resilience building and so on. Incorporate climate and environmental assessment and reporting into AI regulations, assessing AI's overall impacts on the climate. So obviously you need reporting, monitoring, verification, funding for research, funding for capacity building, methodological standards, facilitate availability of relevant data for assessing AI's impact, and of course capacity building, where you're going to rapidly implement large AI literacy and upskilling, fund interdisciplinary higher education, research and professional programs, incorporate elements on data and on climate, fund and facilitate secondment programs where you can go and get trained and come back, or go and serve within climate relevant sectors as government agents. Fund and incentivize creation of trusted AI for climate solution providers and auditors. Develop and or facilitate sharing of standards for scoping, developing and deploying, maintaining and evaluating AI for climate work. Develop and employ tools and instruments for monitoring, impact assessment, benchmarking and certification of AI for climate solutions and for climate impact assessment of AI. Ensure global access to the above programs and resources across a wide variety of countries and local contexts. So this one is the last one in the recommendations part. International collaborations, we have to support knowledge sharing on policy design and implementation, pool limited government RD&D, research and development deployment resources, bring together researchers and innovators, support shared AI for climate capacity building, pool data for common and or cross-border AI for climate challenges. Sharing data is going to be very critical. So collecting a lot of data within boundaries of states and countries and then sharing across, standards needed for everything. Coordinate on the development and use of specific physical and digital assets to support development of AI for climate solutions. Coordinate government support for the development and maintenance. of non-commercial public interest applications, support existing international initiatives with the capacity to advance AI for climate applications. GPAI, now we know what it is, could champion the deployment of an international AI for climate partnership made up of governments, relevant international organizations, and a network of businesses and NGOs from both the climate and AI communities to support the coordination and delivery of international AI for climate work. So this report is imagining global efforts, and it is imagining global data gathering, sharing, standard setting, global AI tool building, sharing, open source, open data, government coordination on regulations, tracking AI impacts on climate, and so on and so forth. So let's come back and look at key areas where AI can facilitate climate action. We have already looked at it, but this is from the government side. So let's read off the main points anyway in the next podcast. Okay, so this is about 21 minutes, which is fine. Okay, all right. So this executive summary stands on its own as the first podcast. If you want to quit the rest of it, you can do that. So I didn't mix the rest of it with this one. Okay,